It's been a while, hasn't it? Not just with me touching this series, but also streaming in general. But yeah, I am happy to be back, Artemu, the Violet Wizard here. And yep, hello Emmy, I can see you in the chat right now. Yes, we have returned once more to the world of a Pokemon. For an adventure that I have been very excited to do for quite some time now. Now, nowadays, I tend to be the kind of person who I don't know, after finishing up my Platinum streams of last year, I felt like I would take a break from the Pokemon series and try to play some other stuff. However, for this particular game, this was one I really wanted to do this year. Especially because we're returning to something that should be very familiar to anyone who has been with this channel since the early days. So yep, this is Pokémon SoulSilver. And you might be wondering, wait, this is a remake of a game that we have already basically played on this channel, right? And you'd be right. However, I did want to get into a stream of the Generation 2 remakes for a number of reasons. One, I just really like these games, and they do a good job of remaking the feel of the Generation 2 games, but also, I felt like it would be fun if any time on this channel we're returning to a series, if we're returning to a region that we have previously played through, I felt it would be nice if we go through the region with a specific form of challenge. So yeah, we'll get more into the rules of what exactly we are doing here today, but enough delaying this, let us just dive right into this brand new adventure. I'll first tell you important things about this game, now we do not need to hear any of this. Looks like the sun's descending in the sky. So this would be what is called twilight, wouldn't it? It definitely reflects what time I am playing at, although given the time of day, it's not really around that yet. Sorry to keep you waiting. Welcome to the world of Pokemon. My name is Professor Oak, but everyone calls me the Pokemon Professor. Before we go any further, I'd like to tell you a few things you should know about this world. This world is widely inhabited by creatures known as Pokemon. Like this little goober, we humans live alongside Pokemon as friends. At times we play together, and at other times we work together. Some people use their Pokemon to battle and develop closer bonds with them. Now, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself? Are you a boy or are you a girl? Won't you please tell me? So, when we first went for the Johto region back in Gold, we played as the boy because that was the only option we could have in that game. So, for this run of Johto, I was thinking we'd play as this little girl here. So, you're a girl then. Please, tell me your name. Now, this character is canonically known as Lyra. However, I don't want to call her that because it's sort of already the name of one of my friends on a Discord server, so felt we would call you something else. Now, the question is, do I want it to be similar to my name? Or do I want to go with something completely different? Ah boy, this is always like the hardest thing, just deciding what you're gonna name your character. I don't know, this is kind of a random thing, but we're currently starting this game in the month of July, so why don't we call our character July? Your name is July. Yeah, sure. July! Are you ready? Your very own tale of grand adventures about to unfold. Fun experiences, difficult experiences. There's so much waiting for you. Dreams, adventure. Let's go to the world of Pokemon. I'll see you later. Become Chibi. So yeah, we are going to go a bit more in depth into what exactly this stream series is going to entail in a bit. But now let's just look around our surroundings here. Start off in our bedroom as always. So I boot up the PC and check the mailbox. Got a letter from someone named Ethan. That is actually the name of the male player character in this game. Adventure, excited! I love Pokemon, Ethan. Oh, that's very nice. And thank you, Lydia Cold Gem, for the follow. Definitely appreciate that. Let's see here, it's a Wii. Wii is huge in Johto too. Good to know. It's a TV here. And that's all it's going to say on that, so how about we head downstairs. Hi, July, you're finally awake. Your friend Ethan was just here. He was playing hide-and-seek with his Meryl. Oh, I almost forgot. Our acquaintance Professor Elm was looking for you. He said he had a favor to ask of you. You know where the lab is, right? It's right next door to us. By the way, do you have everything you need to go out? Here, use this bag to carry things. This is your trainer card. You can save a record of your progress. These are also rather helpful. Just try touching the buttons and you'll know what to do in no time. So yeah, right away you can already tell there's quite a few changes with this game compared to the Generation 2 games. For one, since this game was originally released on the Nintendo DS, we have touchscreen controls, allowing us to quickly access our menu anytime we want. I can tell you, it is so helpful just to have the menu open on the touchscreen rather than having to open up the menu directly for that. God, it's so good. Yeah, that's good to hear, Lydia. My first game was always Red, so I always have a bit of affinity for that generation. Yep, we're just going to go over little menu options here. We, of course, have our bag for storing items. Will be very important later. Can access our trainer card, which gives us a little bit of information about ourselves here, such as our ID number, which will be important, how much money we have, how much time we spent on our journey, and when it first started. We can flip over the trainer card, which also gives us the option to sign it. This is mostly for multiplayer stuff, so it's not really going to impact anything in this run, but might as well sign our card while we have the chance. It's a nice little signature there. We can, of course, save our game, which always recommend doing. And in the options menu, we're able to change a few things about the games. We can change our text speed between various settings, can adjust the battle scene, which determines whether animations will play out in battle. I tend to keep this on, so that's going to be how things are going to go here. Now, very recently, what I've been doing in Pokemon games is having the battle style set in the set position. What this basically does is make trainer battles a lot more difficult, because you're not able to freely switch out your Pokemon on every time you knock out one of your opponent's Pokemon. So it definitely makes things a little bit trickier in battles. I definitely like playing in set mode these days. Shift I can easily recommend for new players to the series, or those just like that feel. Sound's really not going to be too important to us. Button mode's not too important. And for frame, we're actually able to change the aesthetic of the frame and the top there. Ooh, I like that purple, so we'll go with that. So yep, that's basically everything we're able to do with our buttons here. Also look around our house. Professor Elm's been waiting for you, dear. Please, go and help him. Yeah, we'll go check that out in a second. Cinnabar Volcano Burger, Mom's specialty. What's in the fridge? Lots of drinking water and sweet lemonade. Oh, that's always good. I've been trying to drink a little bit healthier these days, but obviously it is very difficult. So, I've been trying to drink a lot more fruit juice and water. Oh, hello there. I guess he's the protagonist of another story. So welcome to New Bark Town, our first destination in our journey. As with every starting point, you want to look around and talk to the locals. Hi, July. Ethan's upstairs. He's having fun with his Pokemon as usual. You didn't bring your Pokemon? Oh, I should have known. You don't have your own Pokemon yet. Well, I hope I didn't hurt your feelings, July. Yeah, the feelings are mutual. Let's go talk to our buddy here. July, Professor Elm was looking for you. Did you go to his lab? So whatever the friend you have in this house is dependent on which gender of trainer you choose. So since we chose the girl, we get the male character Ethan as our friend. If you pick male, you get the female trainer Lyra. So that's very nice. Yo, July, I heard Professor Elm discovered some new Pokemon. Oh boy, considering what challenge run we are going to do here, that's going to make things even more fitting. So go over here. Pikachu's an evolved Pokemon. This fact was first discovered by Professor Elm. I was amazed by Professor Elm's findings. He's so famous for his research on Pokemon evolution. I wish I could be a researcher like him. Yeah, that is a nice attention to detail that Professor Elm specifically researches Pokemon evolution, considering that the second generation was famous for introducing a lot of evolutions to a lot of Pokemon that didn't have evolutions before. I like your bag. Thanks. There's a nice new addition here in Heart Gold and Soul Silver is that we can head up here to the upper level of the lab. Hi, July. My husband's always so busy. I hope he's okay. When he's caught in his Pokemon research, he even forgets to eat. So you can actually see that Professor Elm has a family. When I grow up, I'm going to help my dad. I'm going to be a great Pokemon professor. Yes, Emmy, like Steelix. We're bound to encounter one of those in our journey. And as always for the site of the lab here, look who it is. So this is the famous Elm Pokemon Lab. What are you staring at? Ow! Mother! Yep, that guy's just gonna be hanging out there and push us aside when we get close. Huh? Me? I'm not the professor. He's at the back of the room. Yes, I can see that. Thank you, Poindexter. Hi, July. I've been waiting for you. Do you know anything about my research? As you know, Pokemon are carried in Pokeballs these days. But before the Pokeball was invented, people used to walk with Pokemon, just like your friend Ethan does. Pokeballs are great because you can carry many Pokemon. But walking with Pokemon must have some advantages. It could have something to do with how Pokemon grow or evolve. So, I'm gonna give you a Pokemon. Can you walk beside this Pokemon, outside of its Pokeball, to see if it brings any special feelings or bonds between Pokemon and people? The device over there has some Pokemon you can choose from. Oh, hey, I got an email. Okay, doesn't look like it's spam. Hey, listen, I have this acquaintance that people call Mr. Pokemon. So I take it that's not a family name. He keeps finding weird things and raving about his discoveries. Anyway, just got an email from him saying that this time it's real. It's probably another Pokemon egg, but we're still so busy with our Pokemon research. Wait, I know. You can go in our place, right? Can we count on you? You can choose one of the Pokemon over there. So before we go decide our starter, I feel like now would be a good time to talk a little bit about what this run is going to entail. So specifically, what we are doing in this game is that this is going to be a randomizer Nuzlocke run. What this means, I basically put this game through a little program that shuffles all the different Pokemon encounters so that the normal selection of Pokemon we have are completely different in the field, which is definitely going to shake up this playthrough and definitely set it apart from my older Gold stream. So specifically what I wanted to randomize are both wild encounters and trainers. So things are going to be a lot more unpredictable as this game is going to go on. There are also a few other things that I have randomized in order to make things a little bit more interesting as we're going on, but those are the main things about this run. And as our wild Pokemon selection is going to be randomized, so too are our starter options. Touch a Pokeball to see what Pokemon's inside. Now, in order to make sure that the randomizer did go through the way I want it to, I did check to see what the first starter option here would be, so I do know this ahead of time. You'll never guess what it is. Chimchar! Yeah, we trade in one starter Pokemon for another one. That's a really good option here, and honestly, it's the one I'm leaning towards. But let's see what our other options are. Could also get Magby. Okay, that kind of conflicts with one of my other personal rules for this run, but that is a very cool option here. Also, 2 fire types, go figure. And our final option is Weedle. Oh man, that is honestly pretty sad, especially given some things that are going to be happening. But yeah, I definitely had this decided beforehand. Our starter is going to be Chimchar. So, you like Chimchar, the fire-type Pokemon. Also, this is pretty ironic considering that our last Pokemon playthrough was a Generation 4 game. So, we get to pick 2 Sinnoh starters in a row, baby! And as always, we want to give nicknames to our Pokemon in order to help them feel a lot more dynamic. And also, we're going to be bonding a lot with these guys. We're going through our journey for reasons that will also become apparent. So I've also had the name of our Chimchar planned out ahead of time. I want to call you Sun. This should be fairly obvious to anyone who knows a little bit about mythology. How do you like walking with your Pokemon? It's not bad. You can take it all the way to Mr. Pokemon's home. If your Pokemon gets hurt, you should heal it with this machine. It's so easy to use, just check the PC on my desk. Mr. Pokemon goes everywhere and finds rarities. His house past Cherry Grove City. Go north a little past Cherry Grove. I'm counting on you, July. So we have a little Pokemon following around with us. This is definitely a huge contrast compared to the original Generation 2 games. So pretty much all of 493 Pokemon that are available in this game, you're able to have follow you around and you're able to interact with them. Very nicely go with the added detail of just having all these sprites for all these Pokemon. It was definitely a very cool thing that they added into this game, and thankfully with some of the newer games they brought back this mechanic, so it's always good just to be able to walk with your Pokemon. Oh yeah, this was a really huge selling point with these remakes specifically. July, I want you to have these to help you with your task. We get potions. Those will definitely be helpful. Pokemon are weak in the beginning. Don't hesitate to use a potion if you think yours in danger. Oh, look who it is here. July! So you picked a Chimchar! That's a cute Pokemon you have. When you walk with it, it'll become more friendly. You should turn around and talk to it sometimes too. Oh, that's right. Why don't you show it to your mom? See ya! We can see Meryl also getting a little attached to our little buddy Sun here. Doesn't seem to know his own name yet. Don't worry, buddy. You'll definitely get acquainted with it as we're going forward. Yep, let's go ahead and talk to our mother. Oh, July, that's a cute Pokemon you have. Professor L must have given it to you. Oh, Professor L has a task for you, you say. What kind of task? I see, that sounds a little difficult. But when someone makes that kind of request for you, it must be important. Oh, that's right, I completely forgot. Your Pokegear came back from the repair shop. Here you go. And with that, we received the Pokegear. The Pokemon Gear, or Pokegear as it's often called, is what every trainer should have. Guess what? You can use the Pokegear to make a phone call, too. Do you remember how? Yes, I do. Just power on the Pokegear and touch the telephone button, okay? The names of the people you can call are automatically registered. Just select one to give him or her a call. Wow, I can't believe it's so easy to make a phone call. This is definitely a very helpful tool as we're going to be seeing in our journey. Right now we only have one person registered in our phone, but we're able to register a lot of people, especially compared to the original Generation 2 games. And as we go forward, we'll also have some other apps added onto our phone. But what's also nice is that we have the ability to change our background here whenever we use our Pokegear. There's quite a few interesting options here if you like the different aesthetics. That's definitely a very fancy one. But I think for the moment, yeah, we'll start out with the pink one, as it's very fitting for our character's gender. Alright, so with all that taken care of, we are pretty much free to leave New Barktown. We got our starter Pokemon, it's time to head on out. Wait 1 second! What is it this time, Elm? I almost completely forgot about this. Here, I'll give you my number. Nothing to read into there. I'll call you if anything comes up. Alright. So got our mission from Professor Elm and our starter Pokemon. Time to head off to the first main area, Route 29, sorry. Feels good to be back in the streaming mood now. So yeah, last couple of months I've kind of been taking a break from streams for whatever reason. Well, one kind of reason is that I've just been a little down lately, especially because of the last couple of stream attempts that I went through really didn't turn out great. So just wanted to take a little bit of a break from streaming just until I was in the right headspace for it. And then a couple of other things came up that also started to affect my mood, so wasn't really too keen to get back into streaming until I was feeling a bit better, but I can safely say I'm doing a little bit better now, so we're able to get started on our journey here. It's definitely something I've been wanting to do for a while now. Hey, how are your Pokemon? If they're weak and not ready for battle, keep out of the tall grass. Yep, it's definitely a very important thing to note while we're on our journey. So we can encounter wild Pokemon out in the field, but only if we venture into tall grass like the ones we see here. Definitely want to watch out for that if you're not looking to get into battles. Right now, I think it's alright if we give Sun a little bit of action here. Already, we're starting to see the randomizer in action. Because this guy Zigzagoon, normally you would not be able to encounter these in the Johto region outside of some specific things you get in the post-game. So yep, we're already starting to see this in action. All Pokemon on the field are going to be completely random, so expect to see a lot of interesting things as we're going on our journey. So to talk a little bit more about the randomizer settings I went for in this game, specifically what I felt would help this randomizer run in order to have a very similar level progression compared to the main games, is I set all the randomized Pokemon options for both the wild and trainers to a setting called Same Strength. So basically what the randomizer does is swaps out any Pokemon available in that area for one that has approximately a similar or stat range for that Pokemon, just to make it a little bit easier. And it's definitely going to be pretty helpful. We'll still encounter some pretty low-level Pokemon at the beginning, and as our journey continues, we'll start to encounter some much higher-level Pokemon. Which is going to also be true for trainers, which should make a few battles here a bit interesting. Especially because the Johto games are... oh boy, they're pretty infamous for having some trainers using some Pokemon that are very under-leveled compared to what they should be at. So that'll be fun to get into later. But yeah, we're just gonna make our way through this route, level up Sun, and see what else we're able to find here. Yeah, thanks for that, Lydia. So, with this stream, I wanted to have I wanted to make my Pokemon streams have a bit more flair to them. So, I'm using an application called PokeLink that actually displays my current team and their stats on the side of my screen on OBS, which is definitely gonna make the overall presentation of these streams a little bit fancier compared to how I used to do things from during my LeafGreen, Gold, and Emerald streams. Yeah, ever since Platinum, I decided to play with the PokeLink, and it's definitely made things a lot nicer, I would say. Okay, so we just picked up an item there, and this is also going to go into another aspect of our randomizer. So we picked up a Max Ether. That item is not normally what you would pick up in that location. So what I also did with the randomizer... Oh, hey, Starly. What I did with the randomizer was that I shuffled the locations of every item that can be found on the field, which is also going to make things fairly interesting, so we could end up getting some really high-tier items much earlier than we normally would. So yeah, it's going to be pretty interesting to see just what we end up with. And Sun Learned Ember. That is going to be really good. So now that we learned that move, how about we take a closer look at Sun's statistics here, as they are going to be quite useful to us. So with our Pokemon's statuses here, we're able to just shuffle around our various moves. I want to put Ember on the top because, oh, that's actually kind of disappointing with Sun's nature that lowers special attack. That's still alright, all things considered. So yep, on your Pokemon status screen, you're able to check a lot of aspects with them. So for example, our Sun here has a careful nature, which does affect the growth of some of his stats. All Pokemon have a nature that can have a positive and negative effect on their stats. So in this case, Sun has a nature that gives a 10% boost to his special defense, but gives a 10% drop to his special attack, which is honestly unfortunate, but it should be okay as we're going forward. And in terms of some of the other statuses here, alongside just seeing our Pokemon stats, we can also check their abilities. Every Pokemon has an ability that can drastically affect how it plays. And in this case here, Sun here has an ability he wouldn't normally have. Yep, in the randomizer, you have an option to shuffle the abilities of Pokemon. So in this case, Sun has ability he normally would not get. And honestly, I'm not exactly impressed with that ability. If this was Gen 5, I would really be happy about receiving Sturdy. But in this generation, it's kind of not that great, because the only thing it's really good for is blocking attacks that specifically can knock out a Pokemon in one hit. But, you know, it might be useful going forward, who knows? But yeah, I am really excited to get back into streaming. It's definitely been a while, and I know I still have not finished the most recent stream series I was working on, which is Super Mario RPG, but don't worry, we'll get back to that game in a couple of months. It's actually funny that I decided to stream that specific game this year because it was recently revealed, like, last month that one of the new games we're getting for the Switch was a remake of Super Mario RPG. And yeah, I was really excited by that announcement. Just so cool to see this game being remade. And what I'm thinking is that we will get back to resuming our Super Mario RPG streams after that game is released, because I think it'd be fun to kind of compare how the original game holds up compared to the new remake. So yeah, that'll definitely be pretty exciting. To be honest, Lydia, I really don't have the means to stream Switch games at the moment, so we're not going to be doing that. I'm waiting for Pokemon that'll appear only at night. That is a good aspect of the Johto games, that the time of day does affect Pokemon encounters. There's nothing to put in, no reason to shake that. Want to remember that tree for a bit later. It shall become relevant to us in the near future. But we have made it through the route and made it to our first new town, Cherry Grove.
You're a rookie trainer, aren't you? I can tell. It's okay, everyone's a rookie at some point. If you like, I can teach you a few things. Okay then, follow me! Huh? Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot you weren't wearing the running shoes. I'll try to go as slow as possible, so try keeping up. This is a Pokemon Center. They heal your Pokemon in no time at all. You'll be relying on them a lot, so you better learn about them.
God, he is still outpacing us.
This is a Pokemon Mart. They sell Pokeballs for catching wild Pokemon and other useful items.
Wait up!
Woot Ferdy's out this way. Trainers will be battling the Pokemon there. If you go a little farther, you'll see Mr. Pokemon's house.
We'll definitely want to go there. Hey, wait up! Ah, come on, how could someone that old run that fast?
This is the sea, as you can see. Some Pokemon are found only in water.
Yeah, I like a decent number of them. Get back here, you.
Here, it's my house. For your effort keeping up with me, I'll give you my running shoes. They're still warm.
Gross.
Gotcha, didn't I? Don't worry, these are brand new.
And we received running shoes from the guide gent.
The instructions read, touch the sprint button on the touchscreen to sprint. It also says hold the B button down to sprint.
So yep, another nice addition in Heart Gold and Soul Silver. We no longer have to hold the B button in order to run. We can just tap that button on the touchscreen and we are instantly able to run wherever we go. This is such a great feature. I love it so much. Just being able to press one thing on the touchscreen and bam, we are constantly running without any further input. God, I love Heart Gold and Soul Silver. They do so much good with this series that gets added in later. When you're at Pokemon, going anywhere is fun. Yes, it truly is. Pokemon gain experience in battle and change their form. That they do. I heard that each Pokemon has its own nature and has something to do with Pokemon stats. Yes, it does. So typically whenever I am doing a lot of my Pokemon streams, I tend to make it a point to go into tutorial mode in order to explain some of the finer details about the games we are doing. But I feel like we don't really need to do that too much with this game, especially because we've already played an iteration of the Johto games previously. So we don't have to worry too much about that. However, there are a lot of new additions in Heart Gold and Soul Silver that I'm definitely going to go into tutorial mode for, because those are definitely going to need an explanation for. But yeah, for the most part, things are going to be pretty similar to how things were back in our original adventure in the Johto region. Only this time, the Pokemon encounters are going to be much wilder. But anyway, like the guide gen was saying, we're able to enter a Pokemon Center. They're able to fully replenish the HP and power points of our Pokemon, which are definitely going to be handy for us in the future. Please come back again anytime.
It's great, I can store any number of Pokemon and it's all free.
The communication center upstairs was just built. They're still finishing it up. This area up here is mainly for multiplayer stuff, so we're not going to cover that.
That PC is free for any trainer to use.
And what about you? I'm very sorry, we're working underground right now. It's off limits to the public. Please try later on. So that area in the basement is important for Wi-Fi stuff, which we're obviously not able to do at the moment, so we're going to ignore that. Also featured at Pokemon Centers is the PC. The main draw of this place is allows you to store and withdraw any Pokemon that you catch, which will be pretty important to us going forward, but for the time being we only have Sun, and you always need to have a Pokemon in your party at all times, so we can't deposit him and show that off. But we can see if we can encounter some Pokemon in a little bit. But now I want to head into here. This is the Pokemart. It is your standard shop location. You're able to buy a great variety of items to help you on your journey. Starting off, the selection of items at shops tends to be a little poor, but it will get better as we are advancing the story here. So we can see here a variety of items we're able to purchase. Potions are always helpful. They restore 20 HP and always good to have. We also have some status affecting items. Antidote can cure poison, and the Paralyze heal can cure paralysis. You'll probably want to grab a couple of these as they can be useful to you. Let's actually grab at least one of these, just in case we end up facing a Pokemon with an ability that could afflict these statuses on us. And our current selection of potions. Let's buy one more. What's nice is that you start the game with $3,000, so you always have enough money to spend when you get to the first Pokemon Center. We're able to earn more money as we are progressing through the game, but we'll worry about that later.
I made it! I forgot about one thing! This is another token for me! Take it!
The Guy Gen loaded the map card on July's Pokegear.
Select the Pokegear on the touchscreen, then select the town map icon. You'll see the map of the region you're currently in. The Pokegear becomes more useful as you add cards. I wish you luck on your journey!
It's another very nice feature of our Pokegear that we get very early on, showing us a full map of the Johto region. This thing is pretty darn good. Just hover your cursor over an area, and it'll show you the very basic map of towns, not for routes sadly, and it just gives a nice little description about it. You're also able to set some little descriptors if you want about these areas. So for instance, we want to mark New Barktown as an area where we acquired Chimchar, for instance. We can set that there, so now the map will always display this information. It's quite a neat little thing. The map's also useful for a few other things, but we'll save that for a bit later. So let's head out into Route 30. Oh my god. The fact that we actually encountered a Feebas in this run. Holy heck. Alright, that is pretty funny considering that Feebas is such a really rare and obtuse Pokemon to catch normally. Definitely want to remember this for later. That could be a very interesting thing we can encounter. So, as we're going through Route 30 and making our way to Mr. Pokemon's house, I feel like it would be a good opportunity to talk about the second aspect of this challenge run. That's obviously going to be the most important part of the run. Ooh, we got an item here. What's this? Carbos. Alright, now that's actually a good item I want to mention. So this is an example of a vitamin. Using these items on a Pokemon will basically give them 10 effort values in a specific stat. In the case of Carbos, it gives 10 effort values in speed. Effort values are a little tricky to talk about, but it's basically the bonus stats that can get added onto your Pokemon to make them even better. And the more Pokemon you beat of a certain an effort of value, you're able to earn more effort values to level up your Pokemon in. It's mostly helpful for multiplayer stuff, not really for the main game, but it's good to keep in mind. When you run, the noise will attract them. Yep, that is a very important thing to keep in mind. If you are running around the field, that will attract the attention of trainers to look towards you. And if you're running in grass, your encounter rate for meeting wild Pokemon is also increased. So definitely keep that in mind. If we head into this building here, people usually come to my house looking for Mr. Pokemon's house. You did mean to visit my house, right? How kind of you! Do you have any apricorns? Apricorn trees bear fruit once a day. I have one of those trees too. Apricorns are really something. You can make Pokeballs and other things. They're quite useful. I have a feeling this is meant to be. I'm so happy I'll give you this. So receive the Apricorn box from this NPC. With that Apricorn box, you can carry so many Apricorns, you'll be a decent Apricorn collector. So, Apricorn box here. This is a pretty darn good item. Basically, this allows us to gather and store items called Apricorns that we're able to find in the field on these trees. It's an Apricorn tree. You simply examine the tree, and out pops the Apricorn, and it automatically gets stored in the Apricorn box. God, I really appreciate this mechanic, because in the original Gold, Silver, and Crystal, if you get an Apricorn, it has to fill up a very limited spot in your inventory. And let me tell you, your inventory fills up with items really quickly, so having to make room for new, better items is always a hassle. God, I appreciate this key item for being able to store Apricorns away where they're not taking up space. Which honestly doesn't matter that much because you can basically hold an infinite number of items in the main section of your bag, so it's not really that much of an issue. Also, Apricorn trees were a lot more limited in the original Gold and Silver. However, in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, you'll pretty much guaranteed to find an Apricorn in all of these trees that normally would have given you berries in Gold and Silver. So, yeah, that's a neat little addition made specifically for this remake. Definitely makes Apricorns a lot more accessible, and with the upgraded storage, it's definitely going to make things a lot easier for us going forward. Especially when we're going to get to the point where we can actually use Apricorns for their main applications. But yeah, pretty much once a day, those trees will be able to give you one Apricorn. So always make it a goal when you're playing these games to gather as many Apricorns as you can each day. It's definitely nice. So what do we got here? Max Potion. Oh boy, that is a very high tier healing item. So what this thing does is the Max Potion will fully replenish the HP of a Pokemon. Obviously, we are not going to be using this anytime soon, because that is way too much HP we're recovering at this point. Like, regular potions are more than enough. When a move has no PP remaining, that Pokemon cannot use that move. Then you should take your Pokemon to a Pokemon Center. Always important to consider. Go Rattata! Tackle! What? This is a big battle. Leave me alone. Sure fake, kid. Wow, that Rattata looks so cool. It's like it's in the top percentage of Rattata or something. So I kind of want to talk about some other things regarding our challenge, but I kind of got distracted. So save that for a bit later. Oh, Pidgey. That's actually a pretty normal encounter for this area. Dang it, randomizer. I mean, this route also gave us a feedback, so I'm not going to complain too much here. Usually whenever I am playing for these games, I also like to go into detail about the various Pokemon we encounter and how they would fit in your team and their various strengths and weaknesses. But for the time being, I'm not going to focus on that just until we manage to get a little bit more progress in. So let's head into this house here.
You must be July. It was I who sent an email to Professor Elm earlier.
He doesn't look like a Pokemon.
This is what I want Professor Elm to examine.
So obtain the mystery egg.
A friend of mine from Equity gave it to me. I bet you can't find this kind of egg in Johto. I thought Professor Elm might be able to tell what this is. He's the best when it comes to the research of Pokemon evolution. That's a quote from the famous Professor Oak. You're returning to Professor Elm? Here, your Pokemon should have some rest.
Me and Son both appreciate that, buddy. But look who it is. It's the guy from the intro. And with that, I'm Professor Oak, a Pokemon researcher. So, you're July. I was just visiting my friend Mr. Pokemon. I heard you were running an errand for Professor Elm, so I waited here. Oh, what's this? A rare Pokemon. I see, you must be helping Professor Elm's research. I think I understand why Professor Elm gave you that Pokemon. You'll treat your Pokemon with love and care, it seems. Ah, you seem to be dependable. How would you like to help me out? See, this is the latest version of the Pokédex. It automatically records data on Pokemon you've seen or caught. It's a high-tech encyclopedia. I'd like you to have it. And with that, we get the Pokédex. Go meet many kinds of Pokemon and complete that Pokédex. But I stayed too long. I had to get to Goldenrod for my usual radio show. July, I have a feeling this is not the last time we'll meet. Let's exchange numbers just to be on the safe side. Alright, so now we get Professor Oak's number in the Pokegear. We're just getting everybody's numbers, aren't we? So the Pokédex here is another nice application. With this, you're able to get detailed information on the various Pokemon we encounter in our journey. Sadly, it seems like we only have the Johto version of the Pokédex, so unfortunately, we're not going to be able to get information on any Pokemon that are not normally found in Johto. And I believe that the Pokédex isn't affected at all by the randomizer, so this is going to show the normal encounter areas for these Pokemon. So it's really not going to do anything for us during this challenge. Like, if we were to search Smeargle here, yeah, it only shows them appearing in one area, even though we know they were appearing on this route. How unfortunate. But yeah, normal runs, Pokédex is very important, so definitely keep that in mind. So, let's get going. Ooh, got a call from Professor Elm. Hello, July? It's a disaster! It's just terrible! What should I do it? Oh no, please get back here now! Anyone familiar with the Generation 2 games knows what's up. Just gotta get back to the professor and see what's going on. Although something tells me we're gonna have a pretty easy time with what's going to happen soon. So as we're heading back to Professor Elm's lab, I thought it'd be nice to talk about one of the other aspects of this challenge run we're going to be doing. So, this is not just a randomizer run, but a randomizer Nuzlocke. Basically, Nuzlocke is a term used to describe a specific challenge run within the Pokemon community that has definitely seen a huge spike in popularity. Oh wow, Tyrogue, that is a very cool encounter to see here. But yeah, the Nuzlocke run has been a very popular challenge run in these days, and has even started to bleed into other communities, not just with Pokemon. But basically, this is a permadeath challenge. By that it means that if our Pokemon's HP ever hits 0, then that Pokemon is no longer usable for the rest of the game. Yep. So it basically turns Pokemon into Fire Emblem, making it so that our selection of Pokemon is not only finite, but they are also at the risk of being permanently eliminated from the game. And yeah, it's definitely going to make things a lot more tricky in this playthrough. I wanted to stream a Nuzlocke run for a long time, but just haven't really felt much motivation to do it for some of the previous games that I have been playing here on Twitch. But I feel like with us deciding to revisit the Johto region in SoulSilver, it'd be a perfect opportunity to jump into the Nuzlocke challenge for this game specifically. And with that said, I think it's time we head forward. It's you. You got a Pokemon at the lab. What a waste. That's a Pokemon that's too good for a wimp like you. Don't you get what I'm saying? Well, I too have a good Pokemon. I'll show you what I mean. Yeah, I kinda doubt that, but let's see what you got, buddy. So we got here, the Passerby Boy. And, ha! He took the Weedle. So normally, whatever Pokemon this character would use against you is whatever Pokemon would have the type advantage against your starter. However, because of the way that the starters were laid out, he ended up grabbing the only one that's weak to fire. You happy you won? So yeah, we have the advantage this time. Jeez, it's almost like we're playing a Pokemon Gen 6 and up, right? Do you want to know who I am? I'm going to be the world's greatest Pokemon trainer. Give it back! That's my trainer card! No, you saw my name! Boy, it was very convenient that he just so happened to drop his wallet, his driver's license, his trainer card, his Target gift card, and his passport on the ground in front of us so that we could find out his identity. So yeah, that guy's just gonna kind of wander off, and we're gonna head back to the lab because that's obviously our main priority right now. I mean, we clearly saw him take a Pokemon that was from the lab, but, you know, we're gonna save that for someone else to deal with. Who are you? We're investigating the case of the missing Pokemon here. Rule number 1, whoever did it will come back to the site. Oh my, so you must be the one who did it? Hold on a second, she has nothing to do with it. I saw it, there was a red-haired boy looking into the building. What? You battled a boy like that? He must be the one who did it. Did you happen to get his name? So yeah, that's a neat little addition in Heart Gold and Soul Silver with the policeman automatically assuming that you were the culprit. So yeah, that's pretty fun here. So now with the option to name this sour-looking person here. You know, since we named our character July, how about we name you June? I see, so June was his name? Yep. Thanks for helping my investigation. My next assignment is search for this red-haired individual. So long, pig. July, I'm glad they understand you're innocent. See you later. Yeah, Ethan's a good kid, always eager to help us. July, this is terrible! Oh yes, what was Mr. Pokemon's big discovery? Egg. Huh? This is an egg, isn't it? This egg may be something I've never seen. Still, it's just an egg. Mr. Pokemon's always fascinated by eggs. Well, since he gave it to us, we might as well find out what secret it holds. I'll keep it for a while to find out about the egg. What? Professor Oak gave you a Pokedex? July, is that true? That's incredible! He's superb at seeing the potential of people as trainers. Wow, July, I knew you were a little different. Things are gonna be fun. Your Pokemon seem to really like you, so why don't you take the Pokemon Gym Challenge? If you manage to defeat all the gym leaders, you'll eventually challenge the Pokemon League champion. Or not. Becoming the champion's not at all easy, but you can certainly challenge Violet City's gym. July. Challenging the gym scattered around will be a long journey. Before you leave, make sure you talk to your mom. That we will. There was a loud noise outside. Went to look, someone stole a Pokemon. Oh, that stolen Pokemon. Wonder how it's doing. They say a Pokemon raised by a bad person turns bad itself. Don't give up. I'll call if I learn anything about that egg. Alright. So our journey has certainly started with quite a few interesting things. But before we set off again, want to talk to our mother. So, you're leaving on an adventure. Okay, I'll help too, but what can I do for you? I know, every time you receive prize money, I'll save some of it for you. On a long journey, money's important. Want me to save your money for you? I'm gonna say this right now. Always pick Yes. Okay, I'll take care of your money. Be careful. Pokemon are your friends. When you work as a team, you can accomplish anything. Now go on. So what we're able to do with our mother here is she's able to save a little bit of the prize money we receive from trainer battles. As if we can check our trainer card, we can see that we got a little bit of money after we beat June in battle. So trainers are typically how you receive money in this game. And by choosing the option with your mother, you're able to save a little bit of the money you receive from trainer battles at your mother's house. It's a nice way to be able to have some reserve money in case your team gets wiped out, causing you to lose some money in the process. However, what's nice here is that by having your mother save money for you, she will also eventually start spending that money on some exclusive items and sending them to you. So you'll definitely want to be on the lookout for whenever your mother calls to tell you about the various items she's giving you. It's definitely very helpful. So with all that taken care of, I think we are pretty much golden to truly set off on our journey. So, let us hit the road. There you are! Hi, Ethan. July, you can catch wild Pokemon with Pokeballs. Follow me! And we're getting the obligatory catching tutorial. Wouldn't be a Pokemon game without one of these. Although, thankfully, the newer games have stopped making these kind of scenes mandatory, which I always really appreciate. So as our buddy Ethan here is demonstrating, we're able to capture Pokemon using special items called Pokeballs in order to add them to our team, which is definitely very helpful, as we're going to be seeing in this adventure. See, just like that. It's better to lower your target's HP more than I did, or make it sleep or something. You can try all kinds of things to see what works. I'll give you these. Good luck! And we got some Pokeballs from our buddy. See ya! And off he goes on his own little journey. So, those items that have been gifted to us by our buddy, Pokeballs, our main method of capturing Pokemon and adding them to our team. So now that we have access to Pokeballs, this is where... oh god. So this is where our Pokemon journey truly begins, and where the Nuzlocke run is really going to start getting... oh god, it actually managed to survive. Alright, so obviously the trick for catching Pokemon, weaken them by getting their health low or afflicting them with a status ailment, and then you want to use a Pokeball on them in order to capture them. As we are going to do with this Ladybug. If you can no doubt tell from my tone, I am not happy that I just caught a Ladybug. Ladybug, the 5-star Pokemon. When the weather turns cold, lots of Ladybug gather from everywhere to cluster and keep each other warm. So that is a nice little thing we have here, getting to see a little description about the various Pokemon we catch. When you have seen a Pokemon, the Pokedex, the information they give you is very limited. However, by actually catching one, it fills out all the information you need in the Pokedex. So now we have the option to name our teammate. You know, throughout this run, I want to make a point of giving our chat the ability to name some of our encounters. So, Lydia, what would you suggest for a name for our Ladybug? You know what? Sure. Liz Jr. This is going to be kind of an inside joke for those not familiar with stuff that is going on in the Comic Burrow server, but I am not happy with this. If there was ever a Pokemon that I would consider one of the weakest and most useless ones to ever use, it would be this thing. And I am meaning that in the nicest way I can conceivably say. I mean, it's a very well-designed Pokemon. I like the look of it. But yeah, it seems like it's going to fall over. Yeah, that pretty much defines every aspect of this Pokemon when it is being used in battle. I am sorry to all the frickin' Ladybug fans out there, but I do not like this Pokemon. It is so underpowered, and doesn't help that its typing is really common. So basically, while we are going through the rest of this area, I felt like now would be a good time to really talk about the Nuzlocke rules and as they entail. Especially because we can encounter this thing, Zigzagoon, a Pokemon I'd actually want to use. Unfortunately, the Nuzlocke rules prevent us from catching the Zigzagoon. So basically, what the Nuzlocke challenge is about, the first major rule of the Nuzlocke, besides, permadeath, is that it limits the amount of Pokemon you're able to catch. Traditionally, with the Nuzlocke challenge, you're only allowed to capture the first Pokemon you encounter in any route, town, or dungeon. So after we acquire Pokeballs and gain the ability to catch Pokemon, that is when we can start getting our encounters. And because Ladybug was the first thing we encountered on this route, it's the only thing we could catch. And after that, we are no longer allowed to capture any more Pokemon in this area. Yay! So yep, no Zigzagoon for us, unless we can encounter it in a different area. You can't climb ledges, but you can jump down from them to take a shortcut. Different kinds of Pokemon appear past here. If you want to catch them all, you have to look everywhere. Yeah, if we go for this gate here, this actually brings us to another route. Route 46. An area that will be pretty important to us going forward. Well, we will eventually be returning to this area at some point. To try different routes sometime. You never know what Pokemon you're gonna get. That we will. But we can check here to see what... Ooh! Okay, this is a cool Pokemon to encounter, but sadly, I really don't have a good way to weaken this thing. The only thing we can damage with you is Ember. And I don't want to risk using that, because, yeah, at that level, that probably would kill. I mean, Duskull is a pretty defensive Pokemon, but at this level, your stats aren't really that good. There is one thing I could probably try, but it's probably not going to work. Alright, we're going to switch to Sun here for you. So what I'm so worried about with this Pokemon is Duskull is a ghost type. Certain Pokemon based on their types can have something called immunities, which prevent them from being damaged at all by certain types of attacks. And since Duskull is a ghost type, that means that normal attacks like Scratch don't affect it. Okay, I was worried about that. You do have another attacking move other than... and what you did before. So I was kind of thinking of using Taunt with Sun in order to give it less options for attack and hopefully see if we can try to struggle this thing. Unfortunately, it has Nightshade, so we're not going to be able to do that. Yeah, this pretty much is our only other encounter we're gonna have until we get to Cherry Grove City, so might as well just start chucking our Pokeballs and see what we can do. Unfortunately, we have very limited options for actually catching this thing. Now, with the Nuzlocke rules, when I say we can only catch the first encounter for every route, I mean the very first encounter. So we are only able to capture this specific Duskull. If we... Yes! Oh, that's so good! God, catching a Pokemon at full health with a regular Pokeball, nothing is more satisfying. God damn. If it finds bad children who won't listen to their parents, it'll spirit them away. Or so it's said. Damn, you're just a frickin' executioner, aren't you, Duskull? This is definitely a Pokemon I've been pretty excited to get to use in streams at some point. Ah, man, what would we call you? There's quite a few different things we could do. You know what? I've been listening to a little bit of Beetlejuice the Musical lately, so why don't we call you Lydia? Okay, I just realized just how fitting that is. Sorry, Lydia, but... Okay, so we got Liz Jr. and Lydia. You can also check your nature and ability. So Leaf Guard prevents problems in sunny weather. Not exactly the best ability, as that takes a while to set up, but that could be interesting. And Nightshade's also an interesting move, as that inflicts damage matching the level of the user. So yeah, that's definitely pretty interesting. And you're definitely a lot more useful than frickin' Liz Jr. here. Duskull's more of a defensive Pokemon than an offensive Pokemon, so it's going to be a little while before Lydia really starts to actually get really useful, but for now they're a nice addition. Being a ghost type, she is naturally immune to normal type attacks, which is helpful, but at the same time, your main method of attack is not gonna be all that helpful. I mean, against a Ladybug? Sure, the only move these things get at this level is tackles. Let's go ahead and give Lydia a chance to attack here. So yeah, while we're doing this little battle here and just giving Lydia some free experience, how about we go into some of the other rules and clauses we're doing with this run? So as I said before, we are only limited to using the first encounter we see in every route, town, or dungeon. However, there are some other clauses that players tend to use in their Nuzlocke runs in order to make things a bit easier for them when it comes to acquiring useful team members. So we're going to be playing this challenge with what's known as Dupes Clause, or Duplicates Clause. So basically, if we encounter a Pokemon that is a Pokemon that we have already encountered, for example, if we encounter a Ladybug on a future route, we no longer have to consider that as a catch for that area. So we're able to completely bypass that encounter and try to catch something else that we see. At least the first Pokemon that is not a duplicate in that area. So that's definitely a very helpful run. I have certainly ran into a lot of moments in some of my older Nuzlocke runs where I would just keep constantly catching the same Pokemon over and over. It's actually funny, there was this one Nuzlocke comic that was pretty infamous for the main character catching so many frickin' Zigzagoons that they basically had a Zigzagoon army by the end of the comic. It was so funny. But what is nice about Duplicates Clause, it's not really an official rule, and mostly something that can be used as a suggestion. So if I'm on a later route and I encounter a Pokemon that I already have, but it's at a really high level and actually has some really good moves, and is also something that is very close to evolution, I might want to catch the higher level Pokemon so that I have it more readily available at that level rather than have to grind up the lower level one. I don't know, that's just been a personal thing with me. But yeah, Dupe's Claws is definitely something we are going to be exercising during this run, as it's obviously very helpful. Yeah, I'm only going to buy a couple Pokeballs here, since I'm not expecting to encounter a whole lot of difficult Pokemon here. Also, while we're at the shop, we can talk to this clerk up here. So typically in shops, you're able to encounter not just one, but two clerks. And the second clerk will usually sell exclusive items that you can only get at that specific shop. So in this instance, we can buy Heal Balls. They basically work like normal Pokeballs, except that if you have a free slot in your party and you catch a Pokemon in a Heal Ball, that Pokemon will be fully restored to its full status once it's caught. If it's sent to the PC, however, then Heal Ball's basically just a normal Pokeball. Alright, so with that taken care of, yeah, we got plenty of time, so how about we see if we can get a new encounter here on Route 30. I already know one thing that would be really useful here. Or we can get a very normal encounter for this area, Rattata. Okay, this honestly isn't too bad. Rattata is a decently fast and powerful Pokemon, so you could actually be pretty useful to us here. Yeah, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to catch things like that Feebas or the Tyrogue we encountered before, but this is still a decent encounter, albeit one that is normal for this route, randomizer. So, we're going to go ahead and capture this Rattata. You should be pretty helpful for us going forward. And like that, we caught ourselves a new ally. Alright, so got ourselves a female Rattata here. Considering a lot of things we're going to be doing... Alright, yeah, definitely during this run, naming our Pokemon is going to be an interesting thing, especially because I want to make sure that our Pokemon have names that are definitely going to help them stand out, and are going to be very fitting for them. Usually, whenever people do these kind of challenge runs, they tend to have a naming theme with their Pokemon. But that's not something I wanted to do with our run. Kind of thinking... Squeaks! That's a cute little name, I think. Alright, so welcome to the Team Squeaks. Let's check what you got. Alright, Careful is a decent nature for you, and unfortunately, your ability is Plus. So that's an ability that used to be exclusive to Plusle. Up special attack if another Pokemon has Minus. Sadly, that's not very good. Not very good at all. It's an ability that only is usable in double battles. So for a majority of the game, Squeaks is not going to have a good frickin' ability. Ugh. Oh well, I'm still perfectly fine with this. Rattata is a decent Pokemon this early on. I can actually recommend it in the early game just because it's very fast and is decently powerful. And it evolves pretty early, all things considered, so it's definitely going to be useful in the first chunk of the game. Alright, so we started to form quite the ragtag group here, and we still have plenty of time for the remainder of this stream, so how about we press onward? I don't really need to worry about grinding up our Pokemon's levels right now because Sun is higher level than pretty much anything we can encounter here at this point. So Sun is pretty much going to be our main crutch when it comes to going through these early areas. I just want to test here with Lydia because, yep, Nightshade's a ghost type attack, so unfortunately it doesn't do anything to normal Pokemon. Yeah, like I'd be willing to use Liz Jr. against this thing. Let's go into Squeaks to deal with this. So while we're also dealing with some Pokemon here, it'll be nice to talk about some of the other rules we're playing with in this run. So another clause people like to use when it comes to Pokemon encounters is something called Shiny Clause. Basically, there is a really low chance of us being able to encounter a wild Pokemon that has a different color than they normally have. These are what's known as shiny Pokemon, and because these things are so rare, a lot of people decide unanimously that any shiny Pokemon encountered during their runs is free game, and you're just able to catch and use them if you want. For this run, yeah, we are running with a shiny clause in this run. However, I'm probably not going to lean into actually using shiny Pokemon during this game for specific reasons, but that's nothing really too personal. I just kind of want to mainly save them as trophies and not have to risk losing them. I mean, it's not like I'm going to really be able to bring them into a lot of different games with my current setup, so whatever. Also, a nice little thing I just noticed with our current team. We actually have a Pokemon on our team that represents each of the 4 regions as of this point in the series. So we got our Rattata for Kanto, our Ladybug for Johto, a Duskull for Hoenn, and then of course Chimchar for Sinnoh. That's actually pretty cute. Alright, but with that said, it's about time we get into a new battle here. I just lost. I'm trying to find more Pokemon. Wait, you look weak. Come on, let's battle. Sure thing, kid. So we got here is youngster Joey, and he's got himself a Slugma. As I said before, trainers are also randomized here. I wonder what happened to that Rattata he was battling with before. Nah, it doesn't matter. Slugma could be a little tricky here because this thing is a good special attacker, but on the other hand, its other stats are really poor, especially speed. The thing used Yawn on Lydia, so yeah, how about we switch to someone else? Squeak's a little risky at the moment, so I'll just bring in Sun for the big damage here. Alright, you're just gonna yawn us. That's a little unfortunate. You have a very limited move pool by this point, so that's to be expected. Ooh, it's got Smog. That could cause some problems. Oh, that's actually really helpful. Because we're poisoned, Yawn won't take effect because the 5 main status ailments do not stack. So that actually worked out in our favor with Sun getting poisoned. Otherwise, we would have been put to sleep and have to waste several turns while the Slugma just hammers away at us to deal damage. Ah, that turned out so well. Alright, and because I thought of stocking up on antidotes, we should be good. Hey, can I get your number? I'll ring you up to battle. Yes. Now, back in our gold streams, I did make a point of noting that you only wanted to register a few people into your phone, because during those games, your phone app on the Pokegear only has a limited amount of space. Not the case in Heart Gold and Soul Silver. You can register every trainer throughout the game and not have to worry about needing to fill up space in it. It's so good. I'll ring you up whenever I get the urge to battle. He's not lying about that. Over the course of this adventure, we will sometimes receive calls from the various NPCs that we encounter on the field. And they will, of course, ask us to battle. Which will definitely be pretty good for us going forward. Especially later on when we're going to be relying on trainer battles in order to grind up experience. Alright, let's move forward. You're a Pokemon trainer, right? Then you have to battle. Alright, let's see what you got, buddy. He's got a Shinx! Alright, so you're an electric type, which is normally bad for Liz Jr. However, I know for a fact that Shinx does not have any electric moves at this level, so Liz Jr. is pretty fine. We'll just let you hammer away at this guy for a bit. Alright, see how that does. Yeah, only did 2 damage, we're fine. So, while we're also doing this battle, I felt like it would be nice to talk about another rule that I want to use specifically for this challenge. So you may have noticed that list of various Pokemon names in the upper left corner of the screen. So I have a personal rule of mine for my Pokemon streams where I want to try and use as many different Pokemon as I can from my various streams. And as part of that, I don't want to repeat the same species of Pokemon throughout different runs. So basically throughout this run, I want to try to limit the amount of times I use certain Pokemon during this playthrough, just so that we don't have too many repeats of ones we have used in our previous streams. So I'm specifically only limiting a Pokemon that I have brought to the Hall of Fame during my previous streams. So all the various Pokemon listed on the side there are ones that I have brought to the Hall of Fame back in LeafGreen, Gold, Emerald, and Platinum. So those are going to be considered low priority Pokemon. So what that basically means is that I'm only allowed to use those Pokemon if I really have no other options available to me. So, for instance, if I were to catch a Spearow on one of our available routes, I'd only allow myself to use the Spearow if we do not have a full team of 6 in our party. If we only have 5 or lower, then we can freely add the Spearow to our team if we want. However, if I do catch a 6 team member and it has higher priority than Spearow, then Spearow is immediately removed from the party, and I cannot use it until more space is opened up in the team, and there are no other available Pokemon we can bring in. I just felt like it'd be a nice way to add a little personal touch to our streams, and just make it so that we have a lot more variety of Pokemon. Instead of a bug Pokemon, I found a trainer! Besides, isn't that what the Nuzlocke challenge is all about? Just trying to use a wide variety of Pokemon you normally wouldn't use before, and try to form a bonds with different strategies than you normally get? Wow, Pichu with Sandstorm abilities, that is weird. Alright, you're gonna charm Squeaks. That is a nice appeal about Pichu is that they get the pretty elusive move Charm, which is a very good debuff. Man, that Pichu may be able to summon Sandstorms, but it sure isn't good at taking Sandstorm. Damn, good work, Squeaks! That's actually a nice demonstration of the critical hit function here. So your Pokemon have a chance of being able to use a critical hit when they attack, which at this current point in the series, a critical hit basically does double the damage an attack would normally do. So because Squeaks' attack was lowered by that Pichu's Charm, a nice little thing about critical hits is that they ignore stat buffs to the opponent and stat debuffs on the user. So our critical hit was actually able to deal with the max damage we could have done by ignoring the Charm debuff. Definitely very useful. Definitely a lot of mechanics here in the Pokemon series that you definitely want to take into consideration, especially when you're doing these Nuzlocke runs. Because gauging just how much damage your Pokemon would give or take from a critical hit could really spell the difference between a loss and a victory during some of the tougher battles. You can see over here we're actually across from Mr. Pokemon's house. However, there's a tree block in the way, so we can't go any farther. Hello, Javier. Welcome to the stream. We're getting started on our Nuzlocke adventure here in the Johto region. And we just made it to a new area, Route 31. Also, a nice little detail, if you haven't talked with your mother before going up to this point, she will automatically call you on your Pokegear and then ask to save your money. So, it's a nice little touch they added here. And already we're getting our encounter for this route. What's it gonna be? Sentret. It's actually a pretty normal encounter for this region. It's basically the Rattata of the Johto region. Although, ironically, Rattata way more common in this region. Yeah, you could be a pretty neat encounter. Sentret does evolve much earlier than Rattata too, so that could be pretty handy for us. Alright, Squeaks, just one more hit should do it. Alright, you're in the yellow now. Typically when I catch Pokemon, I try to get them down into the yellow or possibly the red. Don't want to risk potentially knocking them out though, as that could be pretty bad. Let's go ahead and catch this little guy. I say little, but he's actually higher level than some of my other Pokemon. Alright, so we got ourselves our second normal type here. Sentret, the Scout Pokemon. To answer your question there, Javier, it's just that I want to try to limit my use of any Pokemon I previously used in my streams before, just to add a bit more variety to my team during this playthrough. Alright, so now that we got ourselves a Sentret here, time to give you a nickname. Kind of have a name in mind, however, since you just joined in here, Javier, do you have any names that you could suggest for Sentret? I kind of do have a name in mind for him. Yeah, not exactly able to get that one in. Okay, I see the meme you are getting here. Sadly, I'm not going to be able to name him the full one of that. How about we just name him Walker, then? Alright, Walker it is. Yeah, of course we have to do the Furret walking joke. Alright, you're a serious buddy, and you got Synchronize. Alright, not bad at all. And of course, you could be pretty useful to us in the future. Especially since you will grow up very quickly. But for now, you can just hang back while we move forward. Oh, we could have gotten Feebas! Yep, I am a little peeved at this result here. Squeaks, it's time to fry us up some fish. Oh well, we gotta level up on Squeaks at least, so that Phoebus encounter is still ultimately pretty good. To answer that question there, to answer your question there to both of you, there is a setting in the randomizer that allows you to evolve Pokemon that normally would evolve by other means to make those evolutions a lot more accessible. And I have set this game to that setting. So for instance, Lydia will eventually have an evolution that would require her to be traded with an item. However, with the rules I have in place, we don't have to worry about that, and she will just evolve by level up normally. Which is definitely pretty handy. And before we go forward, we have another area we can explore, the Dark Cave. So this is this is kind of awkward. So what this is an example of a dungeon, an area that is away from any route or town where we can do quite a few things. Like catch a horsey, for instance. This would actually be a really good encounter for us. We could really use a water type, and it's definitely not one of our low priority Pokemon. So yeah, oh my god, it has speed boost. That is so good. So how areas like caves work, these dungeons allow you to encounter wild Pokemon just normally walking around. It's not like a route where you have to specifically walk in grass to encounter them. Anywhere in the dungeon will allow you to trigger a battle against wild Pokemon. And in this case, we got ourselves a really good encounter here. Oh man, this is so good. We already have a full team of 6 before the next town. This is so amazing. Alright, Horsey here. Contrary to what the type suggests, it is indeed a dragon. And what are we going to name this fella? Actually, I have an idea for a name. Snorkel. I mean, you just see this Pokemon, and you see its little snout, and it just looks like a snorkel, okay? So good. So yeah, this guy here is definitely going to be useful to us. Horsey is definitely a Pokemon I really like. It's been a while since I've used one on my team, but it's a good one. And let's look at your statistics here. Okay, Lonely Nature's not really that great for you, but you have Speed Boost, so that more than makes up for it. Yeah, you're a good teammate. Alright, let's heal you up, as you're going to be in the lead of our party for now. So typically when it comes to experience at this point in the series, your Pokemon will only gain experience by defeating a Pokemon in battle. Otherwise, your Pokemon can also gain experience. Wow, Krabby, that's actually another good water type you could have gotten here. Considering our options here, yep, Lydia's a good option here. So your Pokemon able to earn experience so when they are in battle against a Pokemon. However, just having a Pokemon out at any point during the battle will allow them to gain experience when the opponent Pokemon falls. So because Snorkel was out even just for a second against this Krabby, when we defeat it, Snorkel and Lydia will both receive experience by beating it. Whereas if we were to somehow take this thing out only using Snorkel, then Snorkel would get all the experience for himself. Later generations obviously make gaining experience for your team a lot easier, and I will say right now, I am all for the new experience system. Just makes things so much more convenient, and anyone who says that the series should go back to the normal experience system can drop dead. I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is. Alright, very good indeed. Alright, there is one other thing I want to try and grab in this cave. Let's turn off our running shoes just to, get my bearings in here a bit easier. We can't get very far into this cave right now, but with how far we can get here, we are able to get a few things. Yeah, I do see your point there, Lydia. If we had the option to go back to the old experience system, but still allow us to be able to use the newer experience system, that'd still be a nice compromise. But for me, myself, personally, I really don't miss the old experience system. I definitely like just having all of our Pokemon receive experience in battle, but the ones that actually participate in the battle get more experience. Because that's kind of how a lot of different RPGs go, like Final Fantasy and Xenoblade, and I just like that system. We're actually low on power points for Nightshade here, so we're not going to be able to reliably use Lydia for the next couple of fights. Sad to say. That's fine, you got to level 5, so that's good. And of course, with us having a full team of 6 now, raising up our Pokemon is going to be a bit slower compared to how it usually is. Also got these rocks here that we can't do anything about, but anyone familiar with this series would know what that's about. And up here, we can grab a Stardust. That's definitely not there normally, but very helpful. So Stardust is an example of an item that is specifically only exists to be sold for money. Definitely very helpful to us. Alright, now they're out of the cave, let's get back to running. Hey there, buddy.
I walked too far today looking for Pokemon. My feet hurt and I'm sleepy. If I were a wild Pokemon, it'd be easy to catch.
We're just gonna leave you there for now and grab our Apricorn here. So that is a black Apricorn. Much different from the green Apricorns we encountered before. Again, definitely want to keep in mind which items you can find in these areas, as they're very helpful. Oh boy! So that item we just picked up is something that normally wouldn't be able to get until later. Wise Glasses! These are some of the best held items you can get in the game. So what I mean by that is, we can have specific items equipped to our Pokemon in order for them to be able to use their effects in battle. So for the instance, with the Wise Glasses, it will boost the damage of special attacks. So with Snorkel here, his bubble attack is going to be much stronger. So yeah, it's definitely a good item to have this early on. Really? Cascoon has Sandstorm abilities now? Yeah, that's really not all that good, is it? It's alright, buddy. You can do more damage to this thing than it can do to you. Because normally, Cascoon only is able to use defensive moves. So you can just whittle this thing down and get ourselves some nice experience. So while we're doing the rest of this battle, how about we talk about some other things that have been going on? So in the time between our stream sessions, I've gotten a lot done. I have managed to finish up the last things I wanted to do in Xenoblade Chronicles Free Future Redeemed, and man, the ending of that DLC was so amazing. Like, easily one of the most impactful moments I have seen when playing through a game and seeing the conclusion to the story arcs of characters that I have known for a great deal of time. And I've also played through the entirety of The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, since that had released in between our stream sessions. And oh man, that game is also just peak fiction to me, like easily my game of the year. It was so amazing. I've always been just a very huge fan of the Legend of Zelda series, but this one was next level. Just the gameplay was so good, story was very immersive, had just a lot of peak moments. It was fantastic. Just loved Tears of the Kingdom front and back. Such an incredible game. And in terms of other stuff I've been doing, pretty recently, I actually went back and played through Pikmin 3 again, since we have Pikmin 4 coming out in a couple weeks. And yeah, that game is still really good. Just love it so much. Great expansion to the Pikmin series in terms of its lore and its gameplay. It's a very fun time. And pretty recently this week, for whatever reason, I've just kind of been in a Digimon mood. So I've been replaying Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth. Oh look, we encountered the other Wurmple Cocoon here. It's actually fitting considering what trainer we're up against. Yes, I've been playing it through Cyber Sleuth again. It's been a pretty fun time. This time I'm actually playing it on my PC rather than on my Switch. And I will say that playing it on the PC compared to the Switch, there is one certain aspect of it that I do think is a little bit better, in that if you're playing it on the Switch and you have it in sleep mode while you kind of have other things going on, then it basically allows you to kind of cheese through a lot of the timed events with that game. So you can just kind of set the game in sleep mode, go get yourself some lunch, or go do a shift at work, and then come back, and like all of your Digimon will be leveled up so much, which is really freaking helpful. But with how it is on my computer, I don't have that luxury. But going through it's pretty good so far. Like, I haven't really encountered any battles that have stonewalled me yet, so we should be good. Wow, Snorkel's just been soloing this entire battle. What's next? Feebas. Oh, man. Yeah, Snorkel's actually not good for Feebas. Yeah, the only thing this thing is going to do is splash. So let's give Liz Jr. a chance against this. Because really, there's not going to be a whole lot of battles that I'm going to say, this is the perfect battle for Liz Jr. Because trust me, I am not planning on using Ladybug very much in this run. Like, hopefully it doesn't get to the point where I'm actually going to need to use this thing, because, oh boy, I'm not looking forward to that. I've already very recently had to experience using a Ladybug in one of my games, and not going to say it was entirely awful, but it's not a Pokemon I tend to use. Even if Bug is like my second favorite type in the series. This specific example of a Bug Pokemon isn't all that great. Yeah, you got some good experience from that, and Snorkel got to show off what makes him good too. You're awesome! I like you! I look for Pokemon here every day. In the tall grass I find all kinds of berries. If you like, I'll share some. Definitely want to register this guy's phone number, as NPCs like him are one of the few ways you're actually able to get berries in this game. So definitely want to keep that in mind. It's a good way to be able to get these resources that you wouldn't normally be able to find otherwise. But with that, we are pretty much done with this area. It's got one more guy we can talk to here. I found a good Pokemon in a dark cave. I'm gonna raise it to take on Faulkner. He's the leader of Violet City's gym. Wonder what you got, buddy. Maybe you got a Horsey or a Krabby. Oh, hey, Ethan. I knew it was you, July. How'd you get past me? Here's something neat for surprising me, July. Sagetta versus Recorder, an item that is really only useful for multiplayer battles or by going to a certain area that we're not going to see until post-game. The Verse Recorder can record your Pokemon battles. I have to go now. I won't let you pass me again. Come on, Meryl. Alright, we are getting pretty close to the 2-hour mark here, so I think the last thing we're going to do in this session is just look around Violet City and see what we're able to get. It's actually a nice attention to detail from that one NPC here. Also, this guy is also important. Yeah, I trade Barry for Shad. bring me some shards, I'll give you free berries, yeah. It's definitely pretty helpful to us. Before, shards were useful for few different things in the series, and in this game, by acquiring various items called shards, you're able to trade them for berries, which can be pretty helpful. There have been reports of ghost-type Pokemon appearing in Sprout Tower. They say normal-type Pokemon moves have no effect on them. Yeah, I am more than familiar with that. But what this one NPC was saying about this being a more traditional town compared to what we have seen in previous areas, Violet City is a lot more of a traditional Japanese settlement compared to some other areas in the region. And that is partially reflected with just the design of the Pokemon Center and the Pokemart, where they have a bit more drab colors compared to what we've seen in other areas. It's a nice little attention to detail. Let's talk with some of the locals here. I collect Pokemon. Do you have Mawile? Want to trade it for my Swellow? I don't have either of those Pokemon, sadly. So yeah, another option we can do with the randomizer is randomize Pokemon we can get from in-game trades. And I did that just to see what options we could get available to us. Trading Pokemon is obviously pretty important, not only for being able to fill up your Pokedex, but also give some nice perks to the Pokemon themselves. For instance, if we were able to get a traded Pokemon, they would receive double the experience than what they would normally get. However, unless we have more gym badges, the Pokemon would also refuse to listen to us after it gets to a certain level threshold. So it's very much a double-edged sword when it comes to using traded Pokemon until you get more experience. About 3 years ago, this group of thugs called Team Rocket was involved in wrongdoing. They were abusing Pokemon. But bad things never last. A boy did a wonderful job and Team Rocket was disbanded. Oh yeah, I heard all about that guy. What was his name again? Hayden? Pokemon are really smart. Traded Pokemon might not listen to you right away. For example, high-level Pokemon sometimes refuse to obey when you don't have enough gym badges. Yep, that's what I just explained earlier. A guy named Bill made the Pokemon PC storage system. You can access the Pokemon storage system using the PC at the reception there. Why don't you try it once? Yeah, I may check it out soon. This guy here. Oh boy, this guy. Hello, I should be a familiar face to every Pokemon fan. I'm from the TV show, The Show Me Show. I am Primo, the big brother. Today, would you one of my fans tell me what you think of me? Believe it or not, this guy is actually from Fire Red and Leaf Green. So in those games, you receive a key item called the Teachy TV, which is basically a little in-game tutorial system that is just handy for giving new players some context to the battle mechanics in Pokemon. And Primo was the host of those little tutorial programs. So it's kind of nice that they included him in another game. But on to the topic of Primo. This guy has some very specific mechanics towards him. So this guy can give you some exclusive stuff if you're able to input some very specific keywords. The various rewards he can give you based on the keywords are pretty dang useful. But one thing, he can actually give you some Pokemon eggs, which will give you some Pokemon that are pretty hard to come by normally at this point in the game. Can you tell me what kind of trainer you like best? What kind of trainer would you like to be? Kind of thinking about what July herself would like. I don't know, maybe an idol? I see, so an idol's the kind of trainer you like. If that's the case, others may come to see you in the same way. Talk to me if again you want to let me know what kind of trainer you like best. Will do, sir. But yeah, Primo is interesting, and if you want to know the specific keywords to get the rewards you need, they are special keywords that are assigned to you based on your specific character's values. So, in order to basically figure out what keywords you need, you are going to need to use a special program that you can acquire online. It's kind of a complicated system, but at the same time, also a simple one. But yeah, we'll say that for a bit later. Pretty close. Normally, the eggs would have Mareep, Wooper, and Slugma. Pokemon have what are called abilities. Seems each kind of Pokemon has distinct abilities. They say these abilities come in handy in battle. That they do. So what we have here is the Trainer School. Just a basic area for being able to learn some pretty standard information in the series. This guy here will offer to make a group for you, which is something that's mainly multiplayer related, so I'm not going to go into that. Speaking of things I'm not really going to go into, I don't really want to focus too much on tutorial aspects of this game, since, I don't know, with most of my standard streams, I try to go into as much detail as I can about the mechanics, just in case this is a new experience for new players. However, for this series, since we're obviously doing a challenge run, I want to reflect that by not going over a whole lot of tutorials. I mean, I say that, and we have been talking extensively about quite a few different mechanics. But for the most part, I'm going to be focusing on talking about things that are going to be important for the context of this challenge. So yeah, that'll be good to keep in mind. As we're going through here, we can also talk to the locals about some various things here. Like how the gym leader inherited the gym and his responsibilities from his father. Bonjour, you are trainer! Battled gym leader, when you did? No. Is that so? Then study shall you. Follow me! This is quite the flamboyant fellow. Here, teacher I am. Good it is you study here. So yeah, that guy will just kind of lead you to the trainer school if you need it. You cannot have your Pokemon out walking with you in some places. Places like buildings, caves, where there are huge crowds. All you have to do is put in a Pokeball. Yeah, that is a neat little limit with having your Pokemon follow you around. Sometimes you'll go to areas where they cannot be out. So, yeah, just a neat little thing to make the world feel more realistic, with you only being able to walk with your Pokemon in certain areas, which I guess is fine. But with that, we have pretty much seen most of the major things we can see here in Violet City. What do you gotta say, kid? You know that Pokegear allows you to put marks and memos on its map? I'd love to have one of those Pokegears, but my mom won't let me. How sad. So yep, there's a couple more things we're able to do here in Violet City. However, we are almost at the 2-hour mark here, so I'm thinking we are going to call it quits for now. But yeah, this was definitely a very good first session. Managed to acquire a lot of Pokemon to start off our journey. And Liz just kind of hanging out in front of us right now, sure. And I definitely want to train up a few of our team members so that they are going to be prepared for some of the fights ahead. Because, spoiler warning, we're probably going to have a pretty tricky time against the gym leader here compared to what we would normally have at this point. And we could also see about catching some new team members in the next session. So that'll be fun. So thank you so much for joining me in the first of what is going to be a very interesting series, where we're going to be taking on the Johto region with a lot of new challenges and a lot of new rules that are going to make things very interesting for us, to say the least. Thank you so much for joining us here for the beginning, and until next time, have a good day and take care.